Welcome to the Third House Podcast. I'm Erica, your host, and together we'll unravel the astrological and psychological tapestry that shapes our lives. Join me as we navigate the threads that connect our chart to our emotions, relationships, and inner world. Get ready for illuminating conversation and insight, because self-discovery has no bounds. Hello, everyone. Welcome to your 2025 year ahead astrological podcast. I will be doing month by month. There will be chapters, so you can easily jump back to each month. However, please listen through to the end because I will be concluding with some general notes and also some perspective on 2026. So in my opinion, I think 2025 into 2026 is really shifting us into sort of a new chapter, a new wave, sort of like 2020 did, but obviously in a very different way. So definitely listen through to the end so that you can sort of wrap up and gain that perspective of what 2025 might be really gearing you up for into 2026. So again, this is not conclusive. I do not include every transit. If you want something more detailed that you can have with you on your device or your phone, I do have a very lengthy, I believe it's about 39 pages, about 60 transits completely broken down with advice based on each rising sign, available on my website. The link is in the description below for that. So if you want to grab that guide first, download it to your device, and then listen through this podcast episode to add additional notes about, anything that comes up for you, please do so. If not, I would definitely take notes regardless, because I do go through a lot of key dates, things to look out for, preparatory shadow type periods, that will definitely help prep you before the actual transit happens. But again, this is not conclusive, so please refer to your own chart, your own placements. And as always, I do offer one-on-one sessions for those that really want to go in depth or just need some help or perspective along the way that's very specific to your fingerprint, your birth chart. And the link is in the description below for that. And lastly, my last announcement, I will be increasing my prices, not drastically, but as we go into the new year, as I'm increasing my workload, I am going to increase my prices. So just be aware of that. Please subscribe and come back each month, especially if you're new here. Every month, I provide a lot of supplemental content, monthly horoscopes that break down the transits in more detail along the way. So again, definitely grab your 2025 yearly guide, which goes into a lot more detail as we go through this, or just grab your notes, get ready, buckle up. And again, don't forget to listen through to the end to really take all of this information and apply it to sort of what you might be gearing up for into 2026. Hello, Pisces risings. So January 6th, 2025, it seems like we're really kicking off the new year with Mars retrograding back into your Cancer 5th house of creativity, self-expression. Really, like, this is the fun house where we, joy, also children. So if you have children, I would pay close attention to this Mars retrograde transit, because Mars rules your second house of earned income. It also rules your 9th house of anything you're pursuing for your growth and potential. So if you're thinking about going back to school, traveling, writing, teaching, any spiritual pursuits, religion, also pay attention to that. But if you have children, this could bring in sort of financial themes and anything regarding sort of like continuing education or, anything to increase your growth and potential playing into it. If you don't have children, this could definitely be sort of like what's going on creatively or how you are reviewing and revising your actions and desires around integrating more joy into your life, and how your earned income, self-worth, growth, and potential are sort of playing into that story. On January 13th, 2025, there will be a full moon in your Cancer 5th house at 24 degrees, technically conjunct this Mars retrograde at 27 degrees. So it seems like this full moon is part of this Mars retrograde story playing out. So this full moon is really culminating something in this chapter involving creativity, self-expression, romance, joy, children if applicable, where you're still revising sort of your actions and desires, but there could be something within this Mars retrograde story where this full moon is sort of illuminating something maybe you didn't see or culminating some part of the story. January 27th, 2025 through February 28th, Venus will enter shadow. So on January 27th, Venus will enter shadow, basically the territory that Venus will retrograde back over. So this basically is an opportunistic time to see what contextual clues are building, particularly because Venus is going to go retrograde and join the North Node in your first house of self. But with Venus entering shadow, what does Venus rule? What houses do Venus rule in your chart? It rules your Libra 8th and your Taurus 3rd. So this Venus shadow period could bring contextual clues around finances, resources, a partner's resources, and also sort of communication, your daily environment, those kinds of themes. The 3rd house is also sort of like your technology, your transportation, really like all those things in your immediate environment. So some of you might be sort of looking at your money and resources regarding, phone, car, laptop. Some of you on a deeper level might be looking at like transformational work and resources regarding how you communicate with the world and how that's really shifting you into sort of a new self, a new body, a new appearance, sort of giving you an opportunity to review and revise multiple areas of your chart and how that is playing a part in sort of you focusing on the self, body, appearance, identity, and how you really want to show up in the world. And lastly, January 29th, 2025, there will be a new moon in your Aquarius 12th house at 9 degrees. So you're sort of getting a little bit of an opportunity at the end of January to create a new chapter, a new beginning around subconscious thought patterns, which could be opportunistic with everything unfolding over the next couple months to sort of create new subconscious thought patterns, new dreams, where the beginning of 2025, the first couple months of 2025, we are going to, what looks like, be given an opportunity to review and revise a lot of personal aspects of our chart and thus our life that realign us in a particular life direction or purpose. So this new moon could be an opportunistic time to sort of get your mind straight, clear those mental thought patterns. What is your life vision? What is the dream that maybe you haven't quite shared with the world, but it could be a good time to kind of create that new chapter around those areas. February 1st, 2025 is an interesting day, or around February 1st is an interesting time frame to kind of note, because Venus in your Pisces first house of self, body, appearance, identity is exalted, conjunct or joined with the North Node. Again, the North Node, that point of increase, what we're hungry for, a life direction, really with this exalted, very strong Venus, really pulling, almost like pulling you in the direction of you and what you want. And Venus rules that 3rd house and that 8th house. So it's sort of like what resources, transformational work, communication, is sort of playing into amplifying those themes around you. But remember that Venus is in shadow. So where even though Venus is conjunct the North Node, creating that point of increase in, affecting you on a personal level, pulling you towards maybe even focusing on you, it's in shadow period. So we're still in that contextual clue building period. However, this is an important time to pay attention to because Venus will continue moving forward, go retrograde, and rejoin this North Node at Venus's most exalted degree, adding a lot of strength. I mean, I will get into this in April when this happens, but it will rejoin at its most exalted degree, sort of revisiting or like bringing you back to what was maybe amplifying or coming up the end of January, beginning of February, where you might see the path, you might see the direction. We may not be able to take action on it quite yet, but you'll come back around to this in a new light. And I'm hoping where we can really see, because this Venus is exalted, it's got a lot of strength. And so I would definitely pay attention to that cycle. And again, I'll give you more dates as we move forward. But on February 7th, 2025, Neptune now joins the North Node in your Pisces first house of self. Neptune's been here for a while. I honestly think this is involving a cycle that might be overlooked because in February 2025, Neptune will be conjunct the North Node in your first house of self. In 2016, Neptune was conjunct the South Node here. So what was going on in 2016 where now you're sort of maybe coming back around to it in similar ways, but this time you're sort of moving forward. You're redirecting yourself, whereas the last time it was at the South Node, which is kind of like a release or a decreasing, feel to it, where maybe there was like letting go regarding a change or a situation or a release going on, or that now you sort of had this full circle, full cycle, where now maybe you're seeing similar themes, but this time you're really able to maybe move into a new chapter, a new territory, instead of the last time where things may have been a little confusing or regarding the change or chaos that maybe came up. Then on February 12th, 2025, there will be a full moon in your Leo 6th house of daily work, health, and routines. I'm not going to discuss every full moon and new moon in the podcast episode, but this full moon looks interesting because it is definitely culminating sort of your work, your health, your routines, but also sort of your mental thought patterns, but it's forming a T-square with Mercury and Uranus as well. So this full moon has the potential to sort of activate the nervous system, increase our irritability or excitability or anxiety if you're prone to those things. But Uranus will be the apex planet. And that basically means that the change that we're going to want to make regarding what's going on mentally, but also maybe with work, health, routines, the planet at the apex, which is Uranus in your third house, has a lot of pressure on it to act and create change. So for you, this is in the area of communication, exchanging information, siblings, extended family, short distance travel, really immediate environment stuff. So literally in your everyday immediate environment, some of you might be initiating a lot of change quite literally through the increased pressure to communicate, to say what you need to say, to initiate that change and innovation in that area that might change the mental thought patterns or the work, the health, routine stuff. Again, it's a full moon. The moon moves quickly. This could be very brief, but I feel like it's worth mentioning, especially if you're prone to those things that I listed. Then finally, on February 23rd, 2025, Mars goes direct in your Cancer fifth house of creativity, self-expression, joy, romance, and children if applicable. Again, Mars rules your second house of earned income and also that ninth house of growth, potential, travel, writing, teaching, etc. So this could really push forward, like, or this could, especially if Mars is direct in your natal chart, this could create the clarity around maybe the plan of action or the desires around creative projects, children if applicable, romantic situations, self-expression, and also integrating themes of maybe moving those things forward around what you really desire and any of those plans of action regarding those themes with financial situations and sort of what you're seeking in terms of growth potential and even travel. So this, by degree, could bring you back to what was coming up starting in the beginning of October 2024. So kind of like maybe September, but around the beginning of October, this could be bringing you back to that, but with an entirely new plan of action, entirely new desires that really, really started to play out in October of 2024. But now you can sort of really start pushing them forward. It might take a little bit of time because Mars doesn't love being in Cancer, but I will take a direct Mars over what it's been doing the past couple months. So, with that being said, February, I think we're going to start to feel the tides turning, but it's heating up for sure. But when we get into March, April, I think we're going to really see some movement in our chart and thus our lives. March 1st, 2025 is when Mercury will then join the North Node in your Pisces first house of self at 27 degrees. It's important to note Mercury will be in shadow today through March 14th. So yes, it is definitely increasing themes with it being joined to the North Node, that point of increase, life direction, etc. However, it's not the whole story. It's building those contextual clues. And so Mercury rules your seventh house of marriage and long-term partnership, personal and professional, as well as your Gemini fourth house of home, family, property, and real estate. So any home, family, property, real estate, partnership, stories that are starting to increase, that are personal to you, that are affecting you on a very personal level, and how you want to maybe show up in the world, where you want to live, how you want to live, and particular partnerships playing into sort of like your personal focus on you, with that North Node really pulling your direction and focus on you right now. It is in shadow. It's building those contextual clues. So definitely pay attention to what's going on with home, family, property, real estate, partnership situations that are sort of building, that you're going to go back over and formulate maybe a new plan or new perspective to move forward. Remember, Mercury will go retrograde, direct, and join the North Node here again. So, again, it's a story that's sort of playing out that is maybe redirecting your life direction or your focus. So, just be patient. It will pass. And on March 14th, 2025, there will be a full moon total lunar eclipse in your Virgo seventh house of marriage and long-term partnership. Now, this is interesting because, again, the ruler of this eclipse is Mercury, and Mercury is about to go retrograde the day after this eclipse takes place on March 14th. So this is a huge culminating moment for Pisces risings regarding a marriage, a personal or professional partnership that's sort of culminating. Some of you might see like a chapter closing within a partnership, or literally the partnership closing. But the eclipse is, here happening in your seventh house of partnership and the first house of self in 2025 is causing like sudden beginnings and sudden endings to these areas that are creating change and action to your career, your business, your public recognition, but also your living situation, home, relationships with family. So this is sort of really kicking off that for you in 2025. And like I said, the following day, Mercury goes retrograde. So whatever shift and change happens, the ruler of this eclipse going retrograde the next day could indicate that whatever shift and change happens, it sort of initiates you into like more revision, more sort of revising the additional change or shift to ultimately, because this Mercury is going to go conjunct the North Node in your first house, like how can you revise the shift and change that's happening in a way where it's fully going to support you, your identity, and how you want to show up in the world? On March 29th, 2025, there will be a new moon partial solar eclipse in your Aries second house of earned income and self-worth at 9 degrees. Now, Mercury went retrograde at 9 degrees Aries, and then lo and behold, we have this new moon, new beginning, new chapter around finances and self-worth at the same degree that Mercury went retrograde, indicating sort of what's going on in the partnership arena where, yes, you are reviewing and revising, but you're also able to create a new chapter around your financial situation and or your self-worth. Then on March 30th, 2025, Neptune enters your Aries second house of earned income and self-worth. So Neptune's been going through your first house for a long time. And the last time Neptune was in Aries was, I believe, around 1861. So it's been a long time. We really only get to experience it once in our lifetime. And so Neptune is it's leaving the water, the Pisces water, and it's moving into this Aries fire sign. So this is very interesting change. But Neptune is the planet of illusion and dissolution. Neptune likes to dissolve things. It creates this like multi-dimensional dissolution effect. And so Neptune entering your second house of earned income is interesting because it could, especially with Saturn entering here, it's sort of like what old patterns, old ways of doing things, old structures that do not serve you, particularly in the area of finances and self-worth, can you sort of dissolve, or in an Aries fire sign, burn down to sort of rise from the ashes again. So the Neptune-Aries conjunction and the Neptune-Saturn conjunction in Aries is definitely like dissolving outdated structures for you around finances and self-worth. But it's also sort of this moment of like the story of the phoenix, like rising from the ashes. So I think this could be definitely financial themes, but I think this could also heavily play into sort of your self-worth, your value, specifically because when Saturn joins this Neptune, that's going to dissolve certain things in this area that aren't serving you anymore. Saturn rules your goals, your hopes, your dreams, as well as like your subconscious thought patterns. So it's sort of like you could go into 2025. Again, I'll get into it, May through August, but you could go into 2025 feeling the initial effects of like what needs to dissolve that is not going to serve these new goals, these new hopes and dreams that you're sort of moving into this new chapter. And April, I think, is really the month where we get to really see the dominoes fall. We get to see more of, yes, we went through an eclipse season. Yes, we went through some planets going, conjunct the North Node, this point of increased life direction. But there was, retrogrades and revisions and eclipses where maybe things were shifting and changing, but we couldn't quite make it happen, or, things were still kind of on hold, or maybe it was happening internally first, but not so much externally out in the world. So now we get to April 1st, 2025. And remember February 1st, when I talked about Venus in shadow conjunct the North Node. Well, April 1st is when Venus retrogrades back to that North Node, but at its most exalted degree. So whatever is sort of initially playing out the end of March, beginning of April, could be bringing you back to similar themes or situations that were amplifying the end of January, beginning of February. And so this moment in the Venus retrograde cycle could be, because Venus is at its most exalted degree, really pulling you towards that North Node, focused on yourself, your identity, how you want to show up in the world. It's sort of like this could be the moment where you could maybe see the direction, see what you need to communicate, see your resources, see your transformation, but maybe not fully act on it quite yet. You'll probably feel the external effects or the full force of it the end of April. But again, I'm hoping the beginning of April is where we're like, okay, I see the life direction, I see the path, and for you, it's very personal. It's happening in the first house of self. Then on April 7th, 2025, Mercury finally goes direct at 26 degrees Pisces and joins that North Node on April 10th. So again, Mercury rules at 7th house of partnership, 4th house of home, family, property, real estate. So something in partnership, personal, professional, something with home, family members, people you live with, a property or real estate situation could really start gaining that forward momentum, especially if Mercury's direct in your natal chart. But it's joining that North Node, so it's increasing it even more. And it's pulling whatever's playing out in partnership, home, family, property, or real estate. It seems like whatever's playing out or starting to move forward, it is pulling you in maybe the direction you personally want to take, or it's trying to pull you into maybe focusing on yourself and sort of, for some of you, like the home you need, or the living situation you need, or the partnership you need at this new juncture in your life. Additionally, when this Mercury goes direct and joins the North Node here, it will trine Mars in your Cancer 5th house of creativity and self-expression, also the 5th house of joy. So this tells me whatever is now moving forward regarding a partnership situation, home, family, property, or real estate, it is positively influencing sort of your creativity, your self-expression, relationship with your children, if applicable. So I like this. I mean, Mars is still in Cancer, so it's not fully able to necessarily act the way Mars would prefer, but I'll take it. I think this is where you could really start to feel like, okay, things are happening. I'm finally kind of like moving out of this, and I'm hopeful moving in the direction that really is supporting your body, yourself, your identity, and how you want to show up in the world. This domino effect sort of continues to happen on April 12th when Venus is finally direct. So this is sort of like that last personal planet to go direct and start applying to that North Node in your first house of self. But on April 12th, there will be a full moon in your Libra 8th house. So this is sort of like your resources, your partner's resources. If you're going through any like legal matter, this could culminate that situation or illuminate that situation, as well as any transformational work that is helping, Venus direct applying to the North Node, right? Which is literally happening in the house of you, the house of self. Venus rules the full moon that's taking place in the area of resources, legal matters, your partner's resources, any transformational work. So whatever's going on with something culminating around a financial situation, a legal situation, a transformational work type of situation. It is directly feeding that forward direct movement that is supporting you, your body, your appearance, your identity, and how you want to show up in the world. So this definitely could indicate like things are shifting and moving forward, and it is directly impacting you, maybe the direction you want to take, and even for some of you, purpose. Then we get into April 21st, 2025, where Saturn joins this party. And Saturn will go conjunct the North Node in your Pisces first house of self, body, appearance, identity. This is important in the grand scheme of this story because it's sort of like the other personal planets have done their business, retrograded, revised, all these other areas, particularly partnership, home, family, property, real estate, finances, resources, legal matters, transformational work, that are all sort of pushing you in this new chapter or new direction towards focusing on you. And now Saturn comes along. And Saturn rules your hopes, your dreams, your goals, as well as your subconscious thought patterns. And it's sort of like Saturn comes along at this point of increase or life direction and is like, okay, now all this unfolded. It's all starting to happen. What are the hopes, the dreams, the friends, the groups, the communities, the long-term goals that are supporting you now? Or is what you want to go after? And because Saturn also rules your 12th house of the subconscious, it's sort of like, what are those thought patterns that can fully support the focus on you, your body, yourself, your identity, and how you want to show up in the world? Then on April 24th, 2025, Venus finally actually joins that North Node. So it's sort of like that last personal planet joins that North Node in your first house of self. Again, Venus rules that third house of communication, eighth house of transformation, resources, legal matters. And it's sort of like, to me, I'm hoping this is like the last exhale moment. Like, we made it. We've, worked out the kinks over many months. And now we can sort of move forward and you can, speak and communicate and maybe focus on the transformational work or the resources at hand that fully support you and how you want to show up in the world. After all that movement and revision, and even for some correction in terms of like where you want to move towards the life direction, we get to May. And May 18th, 2025 is when Jupiter, your ruling planet, in your Gemini fourth house of home, family, property, and real estate will square the nodes. So again, let's zoom out and gain some perspective for a hot second. The first couple of months of 2025, you had so much review and revise that involved the North Node in that first house of self, really pulling you towards all this revision is really in service to you, yourself, your identity, and how you want to show up in the world, generally speaking. Then when all of that is sort of happened and cleared up, Jupiter, your ruling planet, will square the nodes, creating some action and some change, particularly in the area of home, family, property, and real estate. Now, Jupiter will be at a north bending of the nodes, so it will be at a point of increase. Jupiter also rules your 10th house of career and public recognition. So this tells me that some of you might be increasing focus and expansion in the area of home, family, property, and real estate to support you, support career, business, public recognition. Some of you might renovate, relocate, and some of you might just change your overall way of being in your home or people you live with, or, how you operate with other family members within the home to support you, to support partnership, and also career and public recognition. Then on May 24th, 2025, Saturn enters your Aries second house of earned income and self-worth. So this is where it's sort of tying in what I previously mentioned about like boundaries dissolving, outdated structures or patterns dissolving. So May 24th, as you get into the end of May, roughly through August of 2025, you might start to feel the effects of, wow, these patterns or these beliefs or these ways of existing really don't support where I want to go in life. They don't support, my finances, my self-worth, my goals, my social network. So there's a lot starting to sort of trickle in May, where there was so much change and revision previous, the first few months of 2025. Then June comes along and things definitely change, in my opinion. There's a couple things on the table with June onward. If you are a creative, an artist, anything self-expressive, this Jupiter entering your Cancer 5th house is going to be very important. If you have children or you want children, this is also going to be very important. But on June 9th, 2025, Jupiter is going to enter its place of exaltation in your 5th house of creativity, self-expression, joy, romance, and children, if applicable. Jupiter is exalted here, has a lot of faith, a lot of resources to expand, create abundance. But it's important to remember, when Jupiter enters its place of exaltation in your 5th house, it is going to trine your 1st house of self and your 9th house of growth, potential, and travel. So, again, if you are a creative, this could definitely be a very helpful transit in terms of being able to expand, explore new areas of creativity that not only support you, but also support your growth potential, maybe even ability to travel. If you have children, this could be a more joyful, expansive time with your children or having children that also positively support sort of you, your identity, your growth, and potential in life. However, before Jupiter gets to run off and do its Jupiterian things, June 15th, Jupiter will square Saturn in your Aries 2nd house of earned income and self-worth. Now, we've had some periodic Jupiter-Saturn squares through 2024 and now in 2025. The Jupiter-Saturn square is interesting because it's sort of like where we want to expand. Saturn is creating some friction or tension around, hey, we need to work more on this, or we need to be more disciplined about this. So like Saturn wants to pump the brakes, Jupiter wants to go. And it can create this friction until we take necessary action to sort of accommodate where we need to slow down and work in order to expand in a particular area. Now on June 15th, it's like we have Jupiter in its place of exaltation, expanding the creativity, the self-expression, the joy, the romance, the children, but it's squaring Saturn in your 2nd house of earned income. So Saturn is kind of like hip checking. It's like a little checkpoint for before Jupiter goes off and expands this area. Saturn's sort of like, hey, look at your finances. Remember your self-worth. Remember your value. But this time, Neptune is there. And this is a different Saturn-Jupiter square, in my opinion. Because Neptune is here, it's sort of like, what change or action do you need to take regarding dissolving those outdated boundaries and structures that are not supporting your financial goals and self-worth anymore, so that when you do expand, you're expanding in a capacity or container that is indicative or can hold that growth and abundance. This could also play into, okay, maybe you want to have children, and the square is sort of like, well, what financial systems can you, or new financial systems can you set in place that are really going to support the growth and expansion of a family. If you're a creative, you're working on creative projects, this could be the check of like, okay, well, what financial situation is going to set you up for success? And maybe that financial situation is, that you're in is outdated. It doesn't support the life that you've lived for a while. And now it's time to change it to support that growth, particularly in the area of like creative projects, joy. So this is an interesting square. Again, I'll get into more detail in the monthlies, but it's just something to think about in terms of perspective for now. Then on June 25th, 2025, there'll be a new moon in your Cancer 5th house, and it will be hanging out with that Jupiter. So I do think it can play a part in this new moon, new beginning, new chapter regarding creativity, self-expression, joy, romance, and children if applicable, where it's happening after the square. So it's sort of like, what action or change did you initiate in order to move yourself into the sort of this expansion or abundance that you want to move into? Where this new moon is sort of like, okay, now you have a different perspective, or you've taken action, or you've changed something in these areas. Now, what new beginning or new chapter are you sort of initiating that can unfold over the next 5 or 6 months to support that? Then on June 29th, 2025, Mercury will enter shadow at 3 degrees of Leo through July 18th, 2025. So definitely pay attention to any contextual clues in the area of daily work, side businesses, health, and routine, where it's playing a part in your living situation, property, real estate, and partnership. So you might start to have conversations, gain those contextual clues around a work situation, a routine situation, a health situation that is playing a part in maybe like where you live, or a partnership situation playing out, or vice versa. So again, it will go retrograde. You'll have time to sort of review and revise maybe new routines, new work, new side businesses, if that's applicable to you, and sort of how to integrate that into maybe a living situation or a partnership situation. July 7th, 2025 is when Uranus will start to move into your Gemini 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate. Uranus is a planet of change, innovation, and even rebellion. So moving, again, in 2025, I don't think a lot of, the majority of you are going to feel like the full effects of this. If your midheaven is in the first couple degrees of Sagittarius, and consequently your IC would also be in the first couple degrees of Gemini, yes, you absolutely want to pay very close attention to this. However, Uranus moving through the 4th house can create change and even instability to home, family, property, and real estate. But it's sort of like, because this is angular in your chart, it's sort of like, what change and innovation really needs to take place around home, family, property, and real estate to make necessary changes that support you, support the partnerships that you need, and can also help balance sort of career, business, public recognition needs as well. So it's something to think about in 2025, but 2026 onward, you'll really start to feel, and I mean, Uranus moves slowly, so this will be here for a while, but you can get sort of the initial whisper, trickle effects of it in 2025. So it's just something to keep in mind. But again, I think, I'll talk more about it in 2026. When Uranus moves into that Gemini 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate, it's going to also trine Pluto in your 12th house of the subconscious. So this tells me that whatever change or innovation takes place with home, family, property, and real estate, it can sort of naturally flow or affect the transformation that's going on with subconscious thought patterns, your dreams, and overall life vision. Then on July 18th, 2025, that Mercury finally goes retrograde at 15 degrees Leo in your sixth house of daily work, health, and routines. So, from a general perspective, you could really be reviewing and revising like health and wellness routines, work, side businesses, um, and particularly because Mercury rules your seventh and your fourth, sort of like what home or living environments or partnerships are also being revised in order to support the health, the work, and the routines. Then we get to July 20th. So, like, give or take a couple days. So, like July 20th, July 21st, there's an interesting thing going on where Mars will be conjunct the South Node in your Virgo seventh house of partnership, while Venus will be squaring the nodes in your Gemini fourth house of home and family. So Mars will be releasing something or letting something go, while Venus is increasing something, or while it's also change. So let me break this down a little bit. Mars rules your second house of earned income. It also rules your ninth house of growth potential, your travel, your continuing education, your writing, your teaching, any of those things. So, Mars going conjunct the South Node in the area of partnership could indicate sort of releasing something financially, releasing anything that's no longer serving you financially, releasing anything that's no longer serving your growth and potential, also not serving your self-worth and your value within partnership or the desire for partnership, again, personal or professional partnerships as well. While Venus is creating change in the area of home, family, property, and real estate, but in a way where it's increasing. And Venus rules your eighth house of resources, as well as your third house of communication. So you could be communicating more with family. You could be investing or looking at your resources pertaining to a home, family, property, or real estate situation, while you're also simultaneously releasing something either within partnership or releasing something that's not serving the partnership financially or growth and potential wise, where you can really start to create necessary change to the area of home, family, property, or real estate, where it's maybe supporting like your long-term finances or sort of more supporting your daily environment. Then we finally get into August, where on August 11th, 2025, Mercury goes direct at 4 degrees Leo. So now, especially if Mercury is direct in your natal chart, Mercury will start to move those plans or perspectives that you reviewed and revised around your daily work, health, or routines, particularly around a home and family, property, real estate situation or partnership situation. So, plans or perspectives can really start to move forward regarding a partnership situation or like a home and family situation that hopefully can really start to integrate or support maybe the work, the health, and the routines for you. Then on August 12th, 2025, Venus goes conjunct Jupiter at 14 degrees Cancer in your fifth house of creativity, self-expression, joy, romance, and children, if applicable. This is really good. If you're a Pisces rising, because Jupiter is your ruling planet, and Jupiter also rules your 10th house of career and public recognition, this is going to be something you're probably going to want to note because you have the two benefics, one of which is exalted in the area of creativity and self-expression, where the one that's exalted rules you, and it also rules your career, your business, your public recognition. So if you're a creative, an artist, anything with self-expression, this is good. This is real good. Again, it depends on your personal placements because you could have other sort of factors or mitigating factors that play into this. But generally speaking, I'm loving it. I like it. Venus also rules your eighth house of resources. It also rules your third house of communication. So it's sort of like the expansion, the abundance, the love, the beauty, the what you love and value are sort of like all congealing together in this area of creativity and self-expression, where it's trying your first house of self. So it could be very supportive to you personally. And Jupiter in this conjunction rules the career, the business, and the public recognition, where Venus rules maybe the resources being available, and also the third house where the communication is also available in the situation. So I particularly like this, especially Saturday, August 16th. Jupiter will actually reach its most exalted degree within your Cancer fifth house. If you have children or you work with children, this could also be a very positive transit for that. But again, Saturday, August 16th, Jupiter will be at its most exalted degree. And this could be a particularly good day for Pisces rising, as Jupiter is your ruling planet. On August 23rd, 2025, there will be a new moon in your Virgo seventh house of marriage, long term partnership, again, personal and professional. So pay attention to personal and professional partnerships in your life, because this new moon is sort of this new chapter, this new beginning around partnership, or a chapter within a partnership that will quincunx Saturn in your second house of earned income and self worth. So, whatever new chapter is coming into existence, or an opportunity for a new beginning around partnership, again, personal or professional, it can likely require you to make an adjustment to your self-worth and your finances. So maybe something, you're setting a new chapter within a partnership, where, you know, you might have to look at your finances and adjust accordingly in order to set this plan into motion. Or maybe you're starting, a new chapter around your idea of partnership or the desire for partnership. And it's requiring you to make an adjustment to your self-worth and your value in order to create that new chapter. Either way, pay attention to how you can adjust your income and or your self-worth in order to help serve this new chapter around partnership or the desire for one. September 1st, 2025, Saturn actually retrogrades back into your Pisces first house of self, body, appearance, identity. So this to me isn't the biggest deal for a lot of you. Again, if you have any personal placements at the last degrees of Pisces, Sagittarius, Virgo, or Gemini, this will definitely be a bigger deal. But Saturn retrograding back into Pisces, I think, is just maybe a last minute opportunity to sort of tie up any loose ends regarding goals, who you surround yourself with, thought patterns that really support you and how you want to show up in the world. It could also bring you back to themes or stories that maybe came up in May of 2025. This was where Saturn was last. So you could be revisiting or adjusting that story as needed. Then on September 7th, 2025, there will be a full moon total lunar eclipse in your Pisces first house of self, body, appearance, identity at 15 degrees, 22 minutes. So the eclipses in September of 2025 are really interesting to me. Again, I could just have like analysis paralysis, but again, if I see something, I say something, it may or may not resonate. So the full moon eclipse in your Pisces first house of self is a hella strong illumination around you, your appearance, how you show up in the world. And it's at 15 degrees, 22 minutes, which was 6 degrees away from where Saturn was. 6 minutes away from where Saturn was the last full moon eclipse that happened in your first house of self in September of 2024. So there's some story to me that's playing out with Saturn. Again, Saturn rules your subconscious thought patterns, your friends, groups, communities, long term goals, really like your hopes, your dreams, and your thought patterns, maybe. Um, Playing out a story or culminating once and for all. So it's sort of like something is really putting a spotlight on you, who you are, and how you show up in the world. Where this time, Saturn had just retrograded back into this area one last time. So I'm kind of suspicious about Saturn. I'm like, what are you trying to tell us? Um, and again, the eclipse that was a hella illumination around you in September 2024, Saturn was also there. But the eclipse, the eclipse in September of 2024, the ruler of that eclipse, Jupiter, was actually in detriment. So the full moon eclipse in September of 2025, really illuminating you, the ruler of that in September 2025 is in exaltation and trine by sign to your first house. So I think whatever sort of culminated or really shifted and caused a lot of change in September 2024 could sort of have this like full culminating moment, hopefully with like a happy ending, a more positive ending, because the ruler will be in its exaltation, sort of trying the area that this eclipse is happening. So I'm very positive and very hopeful about that working out. Um and again, like I'm going to pay very close attention to this. I'll probably get into a lot more detail with the aspects and the other sort of situations playing into the story that's playing out. And on September 21st, 2025, there will be a new moon partial solar eclipse in your Virgo 7th house of marriage and long term partnership. Again, personal and professional partnerships. Where the ruler of this eclipse, where it's sort of like, okay, there could be by the end of September, sort of this new beginning, this strong new chapter around partnership, the desire for one, or the perspective on it being initiated. However, the ruler of that eclipse will be in mutual reception with Venus. So, again, these eclipses in September 2025 are weird, really, really weird, where although there's going to be this new chapter, a new beginning around partnership, it's sort of like the ruler of that eclipse is not necessarily in its most happiest place, but because it sort of swapped places with Venus, like Mercury is where Venus would prefer to be, and Venus is where Mercury would prefer to be. So they're sort of like trying to support each other, where Venus actually has a little bit more strength and support in the situation by essential dignity. So, to me, my perspective is you can look to Venus ruled houses in your chart to support this new chapter around partnership, marriage, professional partnership. And those areas would be the area of transformation. So, any transformational work, the area of resources. So, like, what resources are available to you, particularly financial resources, as well as the area of communication, exchanging information, and sort of daily environment that could really support this new chapter around partnership or the desire for one. Then, as we get into October, October 20th, 2025, Mercury will enter shadow in your Scorpio 9th house. Again, anything you pursue for growth and potential. So, like the higher education, the knowledge, the spirituality, the long distance travel, the writing, the teaching. So, October 20th through November 9th, Mercury enters shadow. This is the contextual clues, the story sort of building to pay attention to, particularly in the area of whatever you're pursuing travel wise, growth and potential wise. That's affecting personal and professional relationships, as well as home, family, property, and real estate. Mercury in Scorpio is a deeper Mercury. Rather skip the small talk and just get to the deeper layers or what's beneath the surface. But another important factor in this equation is as Mercury enters shadow, it's going to join Mars in Scorpio. Mars is home in Scorpio, but it's important to note that there are two different Mars in rulership. There's the Mars in Scorpio and the Mars in Aries. Mars in Aries is very, I want to do, I want to go. It's very outward, generally speaking, very extroverted energy. Mars in Scorpio is sort of like where no one else can find a way or find a solution, they will. They will find the way. They will figure out the solution. So as Mercury is sort of having maybe deeper conversations and initiating those contextual clues or stories, it's joining Mars, where Mars might provide some ability to dig deep and find the necessary information or the solution or the way when maybe no one else can. And for you, it's going to involve maybe there is something you're seeking for growth, potential, travel, where it could affect home and family, it could affect partnership. But with Mars being in the perfect place with this situation, it's sort of like you can maybe find the way or the solution monetarily through finances to sort of help push forward any growth and potential you're really seeking in your life around this time. But again, Mercury will go retrograde, so you'll review and revise, what solutions or what options are available in this area, most likely. Then on October 22nd, 2025, Neptune will retrograde back into Pisces. So again, if you have any placements at the last couple degrees of Pisces, Sagittarius, Virgo, or Gemini, pay very close attention to this. That will definitely play a part in this Neptune story, this Neptune cycle. But generally speaking, I think this is going to give you a break from that dissolving sort of dissolution effect that it kind of initiated or trickled in when Neptune was in Aries, that you'll really get into in 2026. But I think this could just give you a break from that, but also sort of just kind of tie up any loose ends around like you, your appearance, your body, your identity, kind of how you want to show up in the world. But for the most part, I think for general purposes, like Neptune's been there for a long time. We've worked through it, especially with the nodal cycle. So I'm not too, I'm not going to emphasize this too much in terms of a yearly, but the monthlies, I'll get into more of the specifics. And the outer planets sort of retrograding back into their previous territory continues in November, on November 7th, 2025, when Uranus retrogrades back into your Taurus third house. Again, not too concerned about it from a general perspective. If your midheaven is at the last couple degrees of Scorpio, and consequently your IC being at the last couple degrees of Taurus, or if you have any personal placements there, you want to pay attention to this because Uranus can create additional change or innovation to what those planets or those angles represent. But this could just give you some last minute opportunity to any change or innovation you want to make regarding knowledge, communication, travel, growth, potential, exchanging information, that kind of stuff. Now on November 9th, 2025, Mercury actually goes retrograde in your Sagittarius 10th house of career, business, and public recognition. Mercury rules at 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate, as well as at 7th house area of partnership. So this could start sort of a revisionary process around, your career projects, business, public recognition, where you have to maybe review and weigh in or balance a home and family situation or personal and professional partnership situations. One thing to note is that December 2024, Mercury went direct at 6 degrees Sagittarius. So, where it's kind of like it's going retrograde at the same degree and sign in November of 2025, where it went to direct at the same degree and sign December of 2024, there could be like a new perspective or plan regarding career, business, and public recognition that maybe came up in December of 2024. However, Mercury cycles tend to do this, so this is kind of a typical thing. So it may or may not resonate with you, but again, if I see it, I say it, it might resonate. Then on November 29th, 2025, Mercury will go direct. So this is where Mercury goes direct in that Scorpio ninth house of growth, potential, again, travel, publishing, teaching, if those are things that are applicable to you, what you do in the world. So Mercury goes direct, especially if Mercury is direct in your natal chart, pushing forward anything regarding sort of what you're seeking for growth potential, where there may be a plan or perspective that you needed to maybe integrate a personal or professional partnership or a home, family, property, real estate situation to whatever you were trying to kind of seek in this area. That I think because Mercury also initially retrograded your Sagittarius 10th house plays into the career, the business, and the public recognition. So definitely sort of like, having to take into consideration a home and family situation, a personal, professional partnership situation regarding this growth and potential you're seeking, traveling, publishing, teaching, again, if those are applicable to you, that is fully supporting sort of your public recognition, your career, your business. December of 2025, I think, is going to get very hot. It's going to heat up for Pisces risings compared to December of 2024, which was kind of like, to me, not the best. So December 2025, specifically December 4th, 2025, there'll be a full moon in your Gemini fourth house of home, family, property, and real estate. So something illuminating and really culminating around a living situation, a family situation, property, real estate situation. But it's important to note this isn't any full moon. This full moon will actually square the nodes, again, life direction, where you want to go, in your first house of self, seventh house of partnership. And so actually this full moon is going to create a mutable grand cross in your angular houses, which are the major areas of your life. So your career, personal and professional partnerships, home and family are going to briefly, again, this is a full moon, it moves quickly. But as you get into December 2025, there could be something really culminating around a living situation, a family situation, property or real estate that is creating a lot of adaptability or change to you, your career, and your personal and professional partnerships. It's important to note that mutable grand crosses are great for like bending and creating adaptability with the change. Sometimes, though, it can make us feel like we have to change way more than we actually do. So if you get into December and you just feel super duper compelled, especially around December 4th or on December 4th, to change everything, just like go in and just like, I just want to change everything, it'd be a good time to take a break, pause, and see what's really working, what can you keep and kind of fix, versus what needs the change or the adaptability. So because again, it's a big cross in the angular houses of your chart. And so it's a lot of squares. It's a lot of action or the desire for action that can come up as you enter December. And as well, it's also holiday season for a lot of people. So this can also play into the additional stress or action that we need to take given the climate And then as we get to December 15th, 2025, Mars enters Capricorn. So for Pisces risings in particular, this is going, I think you're really going to feel this compared to December 2024. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. Mars has a lot of action, a lot of desire to move and shake. And this is entering the area of your hopes, your dreams, your long-term goals. So like your social network, your goals are going to be on fire, essentially. There's going to be a lot of action, a lot of movement, a lot of desire around like your social network and your long-term goals. But more importantly, Mars rules your second house of earned income and your ninth house of growth, potential, travel, again, teaching, publishing, if those are applicable to you. So this could really heat up the area of your social network and your long-term goals, specifically integrating or tying in the action to increase income, increase self-worth, while also creating maybe some opportunity around growth and potential. So when Mars enters your Capricorn 11th house, again, it's exalted. There's a lot of action going on in the area of social network and long-term goals. But by sign, it's going to sextile that ninth house of growth, potential, travel. So sextiles are sort of opportunities that you need to take. So whatever's heating up around your social network or your long-term goals, it could provide some opportunity to increase your growth and potential, travel, education, again, teaching, publishing, if that's applicable to you, while also creating a lot of change and initiating to maybe increase your earned income and increase your self-worth as well. Keep in mind as well, while Mars is in its exaltation, heating up the area of your social network and your long-term goals, Jupiter's also still in exaltation in your fifth house of creativity and self-expression, opposite each other. So we have the planet of action and desire, kicking up a lot of heat around your goals and your social network, while Jupiter is in its exaltation, kicking up a lot of expansion and abundance through your creativity, your self-expression, joy, romance, and children, if that's applicable to you. So, and the 11th and the 5th house are very social houses. It's like where we have fun, we socialize, we play, we network. And so this is really, December 2025 is like on fire in terms of action and expansion to like your creativity, your goals, and your social network, while also creating change to your finances and also maybe even creating, again, some opportunity to your growth potential, travel, publishing, teaching, if that's applicable to you. Where compared to December 2024, where the planet of action and desire was retrograde and actually retrograding back into its area of fall, and the planet of expansion and abundance was in its place of detriment. So I think for Pisces risings, I would say from a general perspective, you have December 2025 to look forward to, where I think there's just going to be a lot going on socially, goal wise, especially if you're a creative or you do anything creative for work. This could be very, very important. And I think it's also important to sort of understand the transits that are going on in 2025, especially December 2025, and how they're actually sort of clicking you into place or gearing you up for the transits in 2026, which I want to get into for perspective. So in 2025, where Jupiter was in your Cancer fifth house of creativity, self-expression, joy, romance, children, if applicable, as we get into 2026, I believe, like mid 2026, that Jupiter is going to start moving into your Leo 6th house of work, health, and routines. This is important first because when Jupiter moves into your Leo 6th house of daily work, health, and routines, it's going to start getting out of that square configuration to Saturn. So, this is good for your finances and your self worth, first and foremost. Where there may have been a lot of frustration around, like, you know, having to pump the brakes versus like where you want to go and all that stuff I talked about in 2025. Now, Saturn and Jupiter will start to move into a trine configuration where, yes, Saturn will be in your second house of earned income, asking you to think, work smarter, not harder, maybe, or think long term about your finances. In addition to Neptune being there asking you, like, okay, what do we want to change financially? What are these long term goals? And what outdated patterns or structures exist that need to dissolve or burn down to create new ones that really support this new chapter or this new desire or life direction that you're kind of headed on. Now it's sort of like whatever structures or boundaries that you're rebuilding in the area of finances or self worth is going to positively aspect or trine and create this natural flow to expanding your work, your health, and your routines. In addition to trining your 10th house of career, business, and public recognition. So, what I like about this for Pisces risings in particular is sort of like, yes, wherever Saturn's transiting in our chart is where we're going to have a little bit of work to do. So yeah, you might be rebuilding or restructuring sort of your finances or how you work on your finances and your self-worth. But the configurations moving into 2025, it's really in service to positively influencing literally your work, your health, and your routine, and also positively aspecting or influencing your career, your business, and your public recognition. So this is good compared to the squares that we've had in 2025 and 2024, where it's been a little frustrating and required a lot of action. Whereas trines, it's like it doesn't always require action. It just kind of happens. It just kind of naturally flows. So it's also important to note that when Jupiter moves into your Leo 6th house of daily work, health, and routine, it will not only trine your 10th house of career and public recognition and anything that's in your Sagittarius 10th house, it will also trine that area as well. So as Jupiter is expanding your health, your work, your routine, it's also creating this natural flow and abundance even to the career, the business, and the public recognition. So I feel like a lot of Pisces risings, it might have been some squares, some frustration the past couple years. And it's sort of like now you're moving into 2026 where, of course, we are always going to have trials and tribulations in life and tests and challenges. But I feel like a lot of Pisces risings are moving into the ability to really create more action and flow to the areas of like career and work and health and finances. Whereas the past couple of years, it's maybe been a little like meh, meh. So I like this. I like this a lot for Pisces risings. And additionally, in 2026, that Uranus is going to move back into your 4th house of home, family, property, and real estate. Again, initiating sort of this long journey of change and innovation to home, family, property, and real estate. However, in 2026, when it re-enters your Gemini 4th house, it will trine Pluto in your 12th. So again, any change or innovation to home, family, property, or real estate will naturally influence and create transformation to your subconscious thought patterns, your life vision, your dreams. So something to keep about. Like, it's not just going to be change and innovation to home and living situation. It's also going to initiate a lot of transformation to literally your life vision, your dream, your subconscious thought patterns. Now, collectively, this, I think, will create sort of a global or collective rapid acceleration of change and transformation as well. But for Pisces risings, again, it's between the 4th and the 12th house. And lastly, the North Node will start to move into your Aquarius 12th, and consequently the South Node in your Leo 6th house of daily work, health, and routine. So in 2026, the North and South Node moving into Aquarius and Leo are really going to start to highlight the mind-body axis for Pisces risings. That's what I like to call the 12th and the 6th. Sort of like what, the North Node, like where are you taking your work, your health, and your routines, and how is that really supporting your life vision, your subconscious thought patterns? So a lot of times when the nodes are in the 12th and the 6th, I often see like how the mind affects the body and how the body affects the mind. So a lot of you could be going through sort of like mental subconscious shifts and changes and sort of really hungry to dive into the depths of your mind to create the transformation, or for some, the it depends. It just depends. This could be, especially with Jupiter in Leo. I'm trying to think. I feel like this Jupiter rules your first and your 10th with the nodes being here. I'm going to say, for fun, I'm going to say with the North and South node moving into your 12th and 6th, sort of like where are you increasingly focused or getting hungry to dive into the depths of your mind, where in some way it is going to support your body, your appearance, how you show up in the world, but also like your work, your public recognition, your career. So I think in some ways, like some of you might be diving into the depths of your mind, your dreams, your life vision, and really trying to like anchor into it in a collective way. Because again, we're talking about Aquarius. So this is like the group, the collective, the humanitarian, where it's like really supporting you and it's supporting your career, your business, and your public recognition. But all in all, it's sort of like how can you really balance your mind and your body while Jupiter is really trying to help expand your work, your career, and your finances. But with that being said, I think it is going to be, I think 2025 and 2026 for many of us is going to be sort of this new chapter, sort of like 2020. Not necessarily, obviously, the same thing. Don't be fearful or scared, but I said it many, many years ago. 2020, 2021, new chapter, totally new way of, existing, where 2025 and 2026 is sort of like the next wave. The next wave is coming in for us to ride or surf on. And I think it's going to be a wild ride. I think it's going to be very, very interesting. But I think in many ways, a lot of Pisces risings are going to welcome the change that comes in 2025 and sort of the new directions and the new chapters you can really start making, especially into 2026 regarding like your work, your self-worth, your finances. But regardless, with that being said, it is an absolute pleasure and an incredible time to be alive with all of you.